All right, here we go. So, firstly, I know I've been drinking coffee a lot recently, but I want to also ensure to you guys that you drink your water and that I'm drinking my water as well. Drink your water, guys. Stay hydrated, help you keep in better shape. These are some of the things that we should do on a regular basis to just keep our bodies healthy and to keep ourselves as energized as possible. So, if you haven't already today, get yourself a glass of water while we dive into this video. Good old H2O. So, I want to talk about handling setbacks. And what I want to do with this video particularly is to divide up the different kinds of setbacks and how you handle each one. Okay, because there's different types of setbacks, right? Setbacks happen all the time in life, in all different areas of our life, right? I'll give you guys a personal example. So, I train in jiu-jitsu. And when I was rolling the other day during open mat, I just did a weird movement and my rib popped. Now, jiu-jitsu is a big part of my life. I love exercising. I was a fitness trainer for a long time. And I believe that for us guys that are trying to just improve their value and have a better quality of life, it can't be done without exercise. And I really enjoy pushing my boundaries. I look to compete and consider myself an athlete. I train a lot. And because of this rib injury, I haven't really been able to train the past couple days. And it's probably not going to look good as far as I'm not going to recover probably fully tomorrow. It's probably going to take me at least a couple weeks to a few weeks to feel 100% again. So I have to really, I kind of set that back. I was supposed to go to a competition. I can't really go to it because I don't want to make it worse. Right? That is an example of one setback, right? You have a physical setback, something that physically happened to you, to your body, that is inhibiting you from moving forward. So maybe you've been on the path of weight loss and then all of a sudden you hurt your shoulder or you trip and fell and you've twisted your ankle and now you're not able to do the same type of workouts that you used to do before. Well, if you don't know how to handle setbacks and you don't expect these things to happen, well, then what's going to happen is you wind up falling into this victim mentality of woe is me, I can't believe this happened. And then you just kind of let yourself fuck off and do whatever. And I've seen people, they get hurt and then they come back into training a month later and they wind up, they're just 10, 15 pounds heavier. It's what the hell happened to you? It's depressing. It's sad. Your whole routine gets shot over something that could have possibly been avoided really easily. And maybe you were making a lot of progress in this certain area of your life, and all of a sudden it's bam, that just set you back, right? So, think about the coronavirus. Think about everything that happened over the year, a lot of people, they lost their jobs, and maybe you lost your job, or maybe you lost your girl. I know that influenced some of the rotation that I had going on, that definitely affected that. So there's these things that pop up in life that fuck us up, right? And we have to just be able to kind of acknowledge that and say okay, this happened. I'm not surprised though. This is the whole point of us taking the red pill per se. We all are acknowledging, let's say, how the world works. We're not putting ourselves into blatant ignorance, especially when it comes to, we talk about the red pill, we talk about, of course, attracting women. We acknowledge that female behavior is a certain way, male behavior is a certain way because of this our genetic code, and we're meant to act in this certain way, and we need to acknowledge that that is the case. Otherwise, we end up some of you'll call it the blue pill or the beta males, the guys that will take their girls out on dates. They won't really get anything out of it. They're taking care of single mothers because they think that it makes them a warrior or something like that, right? That is ignorance to what the truth really is. But for us, we really look at the truth for what it really is. And what it really is a lot of bullshit. And most of life is completely unfair. And there's just these little positive moments that kind of keep things going, right? We want to try to make as much of that positive moments keep us in a more fulfilled and happy lifestyle. That's the kind of the goal, right? You make those sacrifices and you build up a life that is filled with happy moments, right? Versus, just like sitting around, playing video games, watching pornography, eating fast food, gaining weight, wasting your time, being around toxic people, right? Those things make our life miserable. But being around positive, influential people, looking to improve on a daily basis, looking to work our bodies on a regular basis, these are going to be the things that actually will build us like the baseline of confidence, right? But like I said, there's things that happen and there's these setbacks that happen, and we need to be ready for that, right? So we have the physical, right? And we also have like the cognitive and the mental, right? So for example, somebody could go through an experience where maybe they experienced something that's very traumatic, and maybe they have a family member pass away that they really loved, or maybe they were in a really long-term relationship that ended in a really dirty way, and it makes them feel like there's something like when these traumatic events happen, it's like stuck in our brain and in our thought process, and it literally can stop us from moving forward. So you all of a sudden, you're, let's say, like working out, you're in this flow, you're losing weight, you're making more money, you're working hard, and then all of a sudden, you're like, it's sad, but let's say like your mother passes away, or your cousin passes away that you were really close with, something along those lines. And all of a sudden it's like, now you're about to take off work to go to like the funeral and the wake. You're about to be around a bunch of family members that are just crying all the time. And all of a sudden it's like, you feel like all the progress that you were just making, it stopped. And this is true for, let's say, like NoFap, right? Like people will go on like a 90-day streak and then they'll relapse, and then they just kind of fall back into their old rut, or they don't really gain the NoFap energy back. They just think of themselves as losers. They think of themselves as losing progress, right? So one of the first things is when we acknowledge the setback, we have to make sure that, okay, well, we made a lot of progress up until this point. Let's acknowledge that. Like, this sucks, and we need to go through this. We need to get through this, right? Whether it's your physical, your rib injury, your shoulder injury, your cognitive, your mental injury that you got from a traumatic event that's stopping you from moving forward. You have these things that sometimes happen, and you have to just acknowledge that I've been making progress up until this point. These things happen, and we just need to get through it. We need to get through it. That's just it. Like, and when I say we, I'm talking about the I and myself. It's weird. We have two of us inside of us, right? So when I say we, I think of my I and I think of myself, my mind, my body. We go and we have to go through this together. And usually what happens is, after these traumatic events, if we can get through to the other side, we actually really level up, because we can get ourselves back onto the path of progress again. And that right there is what creates the positive habits in our lives, is when we have that setback and we're able to get back on track. That means that lifestyle, that positive lifestyle that we're doing for ourselves, getting into working out, eating healthy foods, doing our journaling, doing our meditation, getting our work done, right? Doing all those things, that starts to become more behavioral. We're able to do those things without too much thinking involved. We start becoming attracted to that kind of lifestyle, rather than the, woe is me, I'm gonna like just drink alcohol, take pills, and just like sit on my ass all day, right? Like, there's these two things that can happen, right? So for a lot of people, they're very happy throughout their lives, and then they have some sort of setback, and then all of a sudden they just go into this spiral of depression, and they're never the same again. And it's really sad to see that happen, because it's just, the truth is that shit happens, right? And I think what really helps people understand this is, like, if you were younger and you had a bunch of shit that you went through and you started getting through it, you started like, whatever it's exercising, or you're just here right now trying to improve yourself, right? And that kind of helps you like recognize it from a younger age. But for those people that maybe they grew up in very like strong households, everything was going real smooth up until they were like 16, and then all of a sudden their mother passed away, it can absolutely devastate them for the rest of their life. So everyone has a different story. This is why I'm very keen on like I try not to be like an asshole to everybody. You want to try to be nice and respectful with people. You don't have to be a nice guy or anything like that, but don't be afraid to ask somebody how their day is going. Don't be afraid to like make someone laugh, give them a smile, and just try to spread positivity as much as you can, because everyone's going through shit. I'm going through shit. You're going through shit. The other people watching this video are going through shit. The people that aren't watching this video are going through shit. Everyone's going through shit. So we have to just kind of acknowledge that for ourselves, that everybody has to go through these setbacks, and that can make it a lot less daunting on ourselves. The other kind of setbacks that you could experience are spiritual setbacks. Spiritual setbacks are when you are losing touch of who you really are. So this can happen a lot of the times through like a career transition, right? Maybe you're starting to think about the job that you're spending 8 hours at, and you're wondering if you even want to do it anymore. And that type of thought or feeling can take us out of our consciousness. It can take us out of our present moment, because we know that we have to do this job to get our bills in, and we know that we need to just suck it up for 8 hours a day. And that accumulated over time can make someone go crazy. They start to lose their spirituality. They start to lose their sense of self. They start to lose their sense of presence and being around in this moment. You begin to lose that when you start to wonder if the things that you're doing on a daily basis are making you happy. Right? Because that's what it all comes down to, is like, are the things that you do they bring you fulfillment? Do they make you happy? Is it fun for you? You know, if you're doing something and it's not that fun, you're not going to really want to do it. And that can make life seem really just miserable over time. It just accumulates and it just makes you feel like shit. And that's why a lot of us are trying to build our own lifestyle, right? We're trying to build ourselves a positive lifestyle, but of course, like I said, these setbacks happen. So spiritually, you start to think about where you're headed in life, and you lose that sense of self for a second. Now, what's important about this is that if you can come back full circle, then you can really see a huge benefit in your spirituality. You will level that up. Every time there's a setback, there's an opportunity to level up, and that's what you got to think. You know, I think where a lot of people get stuck on this is they stay, let's say you're questioning this job. You got to go try to do something else. You got to go try to put your time into doing something else. You got to switch up the routine a bit. I mean, this can happen a lot of the times with girls, right? Like sometimes you'd be dating a girl, and then after a while you get kind of sick of her, you get kind of tired of her, and you just want to like go to someone else. But what can then happen is if you just stay settling and you try to stay in your comfort zone and you keep trying to just make it work, it just doesn't work out. It's not meant to work out. For whatever reason, it's not meant to work out. There's that resistance there. But if you just try to deal with it because you're afraid of stepping out of that comfort zone, you're afraid of the change, well, then that's what's going to keep you set back, right? You have to not be afraid of the change. You get these setbacks. Maybe you get a setback in business. You get a setback in your career. You get a setback with relationships with girls. You get a setback where you start to go on like a dry spell, right? These are all opportunities to look at changing yourself, right? And sometimes the setbacks are all connected with each other. Sometimes you'll set back in all four areas all at one time. And, you know, that's just something that kind of comes with the game. You know, they all kind of coincide. They all collide with each other. So that's something that you have to account for, where you get one setback somewhere, you might get a setback somewhere else, but you might also not. So again, these are just things that we want to try to get out there so that way we acknowledge it when it happens. So now the question kind of comes back around to you guys, like where's your head at? Where are you thinking? Where do you want to go? What are your goals? What are your struggles? You know, let's start asking ourselves these questions to start eliciting some positive responses in our lives. What are you doing now that you currently don't like to do? So it could be a bad habit. It could be work. It could be a relationship. What's going on that you feel like you're doing that is almost stopping you from moving forward? What is it? Let's acknowledge it first. The second thing we could do, I want you guys to, if you guys can go put this down below, you definitely can. If you want to just ask yourself and write it down on a piece of paper, you definitely can. So what's that thing that you feel is kind of putting up a wall in your progress? The second thing is, where is it that you really want to go, right? Like, what is it that you want to do? Like, yes, we all want to make more money. We all want to get more girls. We all want to have a better life. But what exactly is it that you want? Like, what things do you see yourself doing in 5 years? I don't just mean like, what are your 5-year goals? Oh, I want to make this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. What I mean is like, does the daily routine look like for your most future ideal self? Write that down. Write that down in a behavioral sense. Put down on a piece of paper what your day looks like, right? We want to look at it in the terms of habits, not just accomplishments, but what are your goal habits? What are your goal behaviors? Is the best version of yourself waking up and getting to the gym right away? Is the best version of yourself training in boxing, trying to learn how to defend yourself? Is the best version of yourself making furniture because that's what you love to do and the 9 to 5 is just killing you? What is it that you really want to do? Because then what happens is, we don't have to make any extreme steps. I'm not saying like, yo, you want to make furniture? Quit your job tomorrow and start making the furniture. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is when we start to kind of put this stuff on the paper, you can start to think, okay, well, I'm going to get to the gym before work. And then after work, for an hour, I'm going to just look at building a website for my furniture, right? And you start to look at what little things that you can do on a daily basis that will get you closer to your goal. And I mean things that could be like 15 minutes. Maybe you just look 15 minutes at like your Shopify e-commerce so you can start that new clothing brand you've always wanted to do, right? Like you begin to manifest the change. And when you start to change, that's how you break the setback. So the setback is telling you that what you're doing ain't working no more and that you got to make that change and you got to not be afraid of that, right? And I think that's what NoFap really gives us the power to do, because when you accept the challenges of NoFap and you accept the fact that we need to deal with this excess energy that is like in our spirit and in our body and in our mind, we will be able to advance forward if we handle it the correct way. Life is full of change. There's going to be all types of setbacks, but each setback has an opportunity to level up, right? Like think of a video game. Every time you see the enemies start popping up, all of a sudden you're going on the right path, right? That's just the way it is. It's just the way life is. Sometimes you got to have some fun with it. And then there's other times where you might get challenged in some areas and you maybe have to just quit the job tomorrow. Maybe there are certain circumstances where you have to make an extreme change. But all we can do right now is just acknowledge what it is that you want to change and acknowledge what your actual goals are. So that way we can make a rational decision on, okay, should we make something that's a little bit more extreme or do something that's a little bit smaller? Anyway, guys, I think that's all I really have to say for this video. Appreciate you guys listening. If you can, comment down below, like the video, subscribe. I would really appreciate that. I'm going to finish up drinking this water and I'm going to head to the gym myself. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace out.